It's a misty morning in a cursed forest as I hear a faint knock on the door. My heart races as I slowly approach and pull the door open. An old woman stands in front of me, cloaked in shadows. "Torak, young dwarf," she says. "The world needs you. You're one of the chosen to fight the demon." Shocked, I blinked my eyes. And when I opened them again, she and the mist were gone. But one thing remained. I knew I had a demon to face. This is how a quest in the role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons and in life can begin. And Dungeons & Dragons, or D&D, is a collaborative role-playing game where you and your friends take on quests, using creativity and strength to shape your journey forward. Imagine being in Lord of the Rings, but with your friends around the table and the power of storytelling. And it's just not only in that game that we need to face the demons. I bet that each one of you knows those challenges that feels like a demon waiting to be defeated. At least, I know I did. I was deeply unhappy at work. Days were there when I didn't feel my strength anymore. Where by 10 a.m., I was wishing the days would be over. And never did I imagine that the quests I took on in D&D would help me tackle those challenges in real life. And the three biggest lessons that I learned to face my own quests help me level up in life. And are you ready to join that journey? Yeah? Ready to get on your own quest and maybe even level up? Then join me at my table. I stood there at the collapsed entrance of an ancient cave. I heard tales of a scroll which had the secret information to fight the demon. And that there would be a hidden library deep beneath these ancient tunnels. And I grabbed my pickaxe and starting to pry away the rocks. Unsure whether I needed to step in, whether I should step into the unknown. I didn't know if danger or success would await. But I knew I only had one choice. And I stepped forward. And quickly, I found the hidden library. And my eyes locked onto that scroll. And without any hesitation, I grab it, triggering a trap, like a bad Indiana Jones movie. And the room started to collapse. And I became trapped in utter darkness. And that night, while playing Dungeons & Dragons, I realized we often try to control every outcome, to avoid risks. But life, like a good story, needs unpredictability, because it's in these unpredictable moments that the biggest lessons unfold. And the story of your life is just like your heart. It's meant to be a flat line. It is the ups and down that give life meaning. And that lesson of diving into the unknown became vital for me. I was deeply unhappy at work. And one day, I was armed with a ladder and sweaty palms, and I asked my manager, do you have a moment for me to speak so we can talk? And it felt already, when I was sitting, like the room was about to collapse. And I slid the ladder across the table and said to him, this is my letter of resignation, which I will sign in 3 months. Unless I can change my career, start following my heart, and focus on my strengths. If I can't do that, then I will sign it and quit my job. So, my dear manager, what do you say? And what felt like hours of silence, the only thing which I could hear, my heart beating. And I knew then that for a first while in a long time, I finally felt alive. And that's when I learned my biggest lesson. Facing the unknown isn't just necessary. It's how we level up. And just like Torak, I was unsure whether I would succeed or fail. But I knew, just like in Dungeons and Dragons and in life, that the only way to move forward is to face those challenges. And sometimes, when you dive into those unknowns, you get some secret surprises. You get some treasure. Back to Torak, still trapped in the dark. I'm standing there, cold and alone, with no idea what to do next. I thought I would grab the information so I could defeat the demon. But instead of that, I got trapped here, further away from the goal I wanted to reach. I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. In fact, I didn't see a tunnel at all. And panic started to set in. And I knew I had to do something. But deep down, I know this situation doesn't call for any quick fixes. It calls for me to rely on my strength. And then it hit me. Without seeing any tunnel, I knew, whoa, I'm a dwarf, and I have a pickaxe. So what am I good at? Right, making tunnels. So with my pickaxe in my hand and hours which filled with sweat and dirt, I start and hammer and hammer. And finally, I see a light. At the end of the tunnel, I created myself. Now, let me ask you a question. When you were a kid and you came back from school, which grades were discussed at home? The low ones, right? From an early age on, we are taught to focus on our weakness so we can turn them in good enoughs. And it costs a lot of energy and rarely brings happiness. In Dungeons and Dragons, we do that a little bit different. There, we focus on what makes us unique, on our strength, and often we define it by our class. So a rogue can pick a lock, a fighter kicks in the door, and a wizard casts spells. And each excels in their own way. And how would it be if we start doing that more in real life? If instead of trying to be mediocre at everything, we start to focus on what can make me excel. And I believe if we would do that, that the world would be a way brighter place. My manager asked me, but Raoul, how did you come to that decision? And I was expecting a yes or a no, so I was a little bit shocked and need to refocus and said, well, you know, the last few months felt like I was trapped. I sit behind screens, I was buried in details. It drained me. I couldn't do anything with what I'm good at. Creating, training people. And when I started to talk, my manager stopped me. He looked me into my eyes. Well, he slid the letter back across the table. And he said, Raoul, just throw this thing in the shredder. We will make this work. And it's in those moments when you feel most trapped that you have the opportunity to find the courage and to reconnect with what makes you unique, with your strengths. But the good thing is, you don't need a crisis to find them, though. You can already start with asking the people beside you, maybe after this talk, or when you get home, what makes you unique, what you are good at. And if they will say something and you feeling like, nah, I think that everybody can do that, then you have hit the jackpot. Because if things come so natural to you, that's probably your true talent. So start focusing on what makes you unique, what your strengths are. And when you feel so powerful, you're not just surviving quests, you're actually leveling up. And don't rely on your strengths alone. Find a party. Emerging from that tunnel and finally feeling the sun on my face again, I looked at the scroll, hoping to find the answer on how to defeat the demon, only to find it blank. Disappointed for the effort I put in, I brushed the last bit of earth from my beard. And that's when I realized the earth from my beard, from making that tunnel, that wasn't necessary. The whole tunnel didn't need to collapse. But I was stubborn. I thought I could do it alone. But if I brought someone with some high perception, probably we could have avoided the trap all along. So then I knew what I needed to learn. What the secret was, I needed to uncover. Ask for help. Find a party. Find people where you're not good at, they can excel. And if you do that, combined with a shared quest, that's when you go further. And Dungeons and Dragons has always embraced this truth. No quest is to be completed alone. And for 50 years, adventurers has formed parties made up of diverse skills. This is where their strengths are. And it's that a fighter, he confronts. A wizard analyzes. And a cleric supports. And combining those efforts, you can overcome nearly every challenge. I was there, in my job, which I created myself. And I could work with my strengths. I could do what I was good at. But why wasn't the progress as fast as I hoped it would be? I was guarding my role, which I crafted myself. But when at one moment slowly a team started to emerge, my own party, it was difficult for me to hand over those responsibilities. But when I noticed that a teammate who excels at the details where I'd struggled, we noticed that we would move way faster. I formed a party there. But why don't we apply this in our own life? Think back at the moment, maybe you were at college. How did you form your study groups? And whether in study, business, or relationships, we often try to surround ourselves with the people who look like us. It's comfortable, it's safe. But it's the familiarity that limits us. Or maybe even you don't form a group at all. You try to take on life's quest all alone. And I know, asking for help and connecting with people who think differently can be intimidating. But when you do, you will connect on a way deeper level. You're not just connecting on how you do certain things, but on why you do them. And then that real purpose, that becomes your bond. And then together with the party, you can face any challenge. And then together, you can level up. Together, we face the demon in an epic, heroic battle. And with everyone in their rightful place, I deliver the final blow. But before the demon vanishes, it utters its chilling last words. Don't think it's over. The real battle is yet to come. I've started to enjoy work again, focusing on my strength and collaborating with a party. But then I learned the last lesson. When one quest ends, another will always appear. A new door will open and invite you forward. But now you've leveled up. You discovered your strengths, found your party to help you. You got stronger for the quests ahead. But you never know which quest waits behind the next door. So my final question for you is, when that moment comes, will you open yours?